My family expected me to babysit their kids on a vacation I paid for, so I booked a solo trip to Greece and left them in chaos. Hey Reddit. So I just got back from 2 weeks in Greece, and my family is losing their minds. Let me explain how we got here. I'm Jake, 32 male, senior site supervisor for a commercial construction company in Phoenix. Started as a laborer at 19, worked my way up. Now I manage teams of 40 to 50 guys, making around $95,000 annually, plus bonuses. I'm single, own my house outright, drive a 2019 F-150. Pretty standard life. My family situation is where things get messy. Got 2 siblings, Nina, 35, married to Wesley with 3 kids, and Brandon, 28, married to Kelsey with twin boys. My parents, Robert and Linda, are retired and treat their grandkids like royalty. Here's the thing. I'm the reliable one, the one who shows up when someone needs help, the one who fixes things, the one who loans money that never gets paid back. Been playing this role since I was a teenager. Last Christmas at my parents' house, Mom pulled me aside. Jake, honey, we haven't had a real family vacation in years. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all go somewhere together? I was immediately suspicious. What did you have in mind? Maybe Florida? California? Somewhere the kids would love. Fast forward to February at Nina's house for our monthly family dinner. I'd brought store-bought lasagna. After dinner, while cleaning up, Mom brought up the vacation again. Jake, we found the perfect place. A 5-bedroom house in Scottsdale with a pool. Scottsdale? That's 2 hours away. How much? Nina pulled up the listing. $350 a night. For 2 weeks, that's $4,900. Plus groceries and activities. Maybe $7,000 total. $7,000. They wanted me to drop $7,000 on Scottsdale. Brandon jumped in. You know you're the only one who can make this happen. Nina and I have mortgages. Mom and Dad are on fixed income. I should have said no. Instead, let me think about it. The pressure campaign was intense. Nina sent videos of her kids excited for the beach house. Mom called twice. Brandon texted articles about family bonding. Dad called Saturday morning. Your mother and I aren't getting any younger. We don't know how many more chances we'll have for memories like this. The guilt trip worked. Okay, I'll do it. I booked the house, sent the confirmation to the family chat. Got bombarded with excited messages. Planning continued through spring. Every family dinner turned into vacation planning. Nina made spreadsheets. Brandon created calendars. Mom started a Pinterest board. Then, 3 weeks before the trip, the real bomb dropped at my parents' house. Nina had her laptop out. Wesley and I want a few date nights while we're there. Old Town Scottsdale restaurants, that new wine bar. That sounds lovely, Mom said. Robert and I want to play golf. Brandon nodded. Kelsey and I definitely want couple time. I wasn't seeing the problem yet. Okay, arrange childcare. 5 pairs of eyes turned to me. Well, that's what we wanted to talk about, Nina said. You'll be there anyway, so you could watch the kids when we go out. The room felt very small. Wait, what? It makes sense, Brandon added. You're single, you don't have anyone to go out with. The kids love you. I looked around. You want me to pay for this vacation and babysit everyone's kids while you go out? It's not babysitting when it's family, Mom said. It's helping out. Wesley leaned back. This is kind of your vacation gift to everyone. Wouldn't be right for you to do your own thing when everyone's making family memories. Dad spoke up. Don't make this a big deal. We're asking you to take a few shifts so couples can have time together. How many date nights? Nina glanced at her laptop. Wesley and I want 3 or 4. Brandon wants 3. Mom and Dad want 2 golf days and 1 dinner. 10 separate occasions watching 5 kids under 10 while everyone enjoyed the vacation I'd paid for. I need to think about this, I said, standing up. I've got an early morning. The drive home was when it really started to sink in. They hadn't asked if I wanted to go on this vacation. They'd asked me to fund it. And now they weren't even planning for me to enjoy it. I was expected to serve as the unpaid childcare while they all went out and had fun. I spent that night doing something I should have done months ago, actually reading through the family group chat from the beginning of the vacation planning. The messages were illuminating. From Nina, back in March. Jake's gonna love having all the kids around. He's always so good with them. From Brandon. We should make sure Jake has plenty to do. Don't want him feeling left out or anything. From my mom. I'm so glad Jake is single for this trip. Makes the logistics so much easier. They'd been planning this the whole time. The expectation that I'd be the built-in childcare wasn't a last-minute request. It was always part of the plan. They just hadn't bothered to tell me until I'd already dropped $5,000 on the house. Tuesday evening, my buddy Craig called. We've known each other since high school, went different directions after graduation but stayed close. He's a mechanical engineer now, married with 2 kids of his own. Hey man, want to grab dinner Friday? He asked. Yeah, that works. That new burger place downtown? Perfect. How's the family vacation planning going? Your sister mentioned it when I ran into her at Target last week. Of course she did. It's going. We leave in 3 weeks. Nice. Where are you guys heading? Scottsdale. There was a pause. Scottsdale. Isn't that like 2 hours away? Yep. Huh. Well, have fun, I guess. At least it'll be relaxing. I laughed without any humor. Actually, they've decided I'm going to be the babysitter for the whole trip while everyone else goes out and enjoys themselves. Another pause. Longer this time. Wait, what? I explained the whole situation. The $7,000 I'd spent, the expectations for childcare, the casual way they'd announced it like it was no big deal. Dude, Craig said when I finished, that's messed up. Please tell me you're not actually going along with this. I don't know what else to do. I already paid for the house. So, take the loss and do something else with your vacation time. You've got 2 weeks off work, right? Go somewhere you actually want to go. Like where? I don't know, man. Anywhere but a house in Scottsdale watching other people's kids while they go wine tasting. After we hung up, I sat on my couch staring at my laptop. Craig was right. I had 2 weeks of vacation time scheduled. I could go anywhere, do anything. The money for the rental house was already spent, but that didn't mean I had to show up and play the role they'd assigned me. I opened a new browser tab and typed, Best Vacation Destinations for Solo Travelers July. The first result was an article about Greece. Beautiful beaches, ancient history, incredible food, and relatively affordable if you avoided the peak tourist traps. I clicked through to images of Santorini, those white buildings with blue domes, crystal clear water, sunset views that looked like something from a postcard. I spent the next 2 hours looking at flights and hotels. A round-trip ticket to Athens was $950. 2 weeks bouncing between Athens, Mykonos, and Santorini, staying in decent but not fancy hotels, would run me about $3,500 total, including food and activities. I'd already spent $7,000 on Scottsdale. What was another $3,500 to actually enjoy my vacation? The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. I could book this trip, go to Greece, and let my family figure out their own childcare situation in the house they'd insisted I rent for them. They were all adults. They could handle it. But if I was going to do this, I needed to do it right. No warning. No lengthy explanation they could argue with. No opportunity for guilt trips to change my mind. Just a clean exit. I opened the family group chat and started typing. Hey everyone. Something came up with work. Big project overseas that I need to supervise personally. I won't be able to make the Scottsdale trip. The house is paid for, so you all can still go and enjoy it. Have a great time. My finger hovered over the send button. Was I really going to do this? Bail on my family 3 weeks before a trip I'd paid for? Then I remembered Nina saying, "You don't have anyone to go out with anyway," and Brandon's casual expectation that I'd obviously be available for childcare, and my mom's comment about being glad I was single because it made logistics easier. I hit send. The response was immediate. Nina, what? What project? Brandon, dude, you can't bail now. We've been planning this for months. Mom, honey, can't someone else handle the work project? We need you here. Dad, son, call me. I put my phone on silent and started booking my Greece trip. Flight to Athens departing July 14th, returning July 28th. Hotel in Athens for 3 nights, then a ferry to Mykonos for 4 nights, another ferry to Santorini for 5 nights, then back to Athens for 1 night before flying home. By the time I finished booking everything, I had 47 unread messages in the family group chat and 6 missed calls. I made myself a sandwich, cracked open a soda, and finally read through the messages. The evolution was predictable. Started with confusion and questions, moved into frustration and anger, then landed on guilt trips and accusations. From Nina, "This is so selfish. Wesley and I have been looking forward to this for months. The kids are going to be devastated." From Brandon, "Way to bail on your family, man. Real classy." From my mom, "Jake, please reconsider. You're breaking my heart. This was supposed to be about bringing the family together." From my dad, "This isn't like you. Call me so we can talk about what's really going on." I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I turned off my phone completely and spent the rest of the evening watching a documentary about ancient Greek architecture. The next morning, I called my boss at the construction site. "Hey Danny, I wanted to give you a heads up. That vacation time I requested for July? I'm definitely taking it, but I'm going to be completely unreachable. I'm going to Greece, and I won't have international phone service. Danny laughed. Good for you, man. You've earned it. Don't worry about anything here. We'll handle it. Thanks. I appreciate it. Just promise me you'll actually relax. I don't want to see you checking work emails from some beach in Santorini. Deal. With work handled, I started preparing for the trip. Got my passport out of the safe, ordered some euros from my bank, bought a new travel backpack and some lightweight clothing suitable for Mediterranean summer weather. I'd been to Mexico a few times for long weekends, but I'd never done a real international trip like this. The planning was actually exciting, researching restaurants in Athens, figuring out which archaeological sites I wanted to visit, mapping out the best beaches in Mykonos. My family kept calling and texting, but I ignored everything. 3 days before my flight, I finally sent one more message to the group chat. I know you're all upset and I get it, but I need you to understand something. I spent $7,000 on a vacation I was expected to spend babysitting everyone else's kids while you all went out and enjoyed yourselves. That's not a vacation for me. That's me being used. So I'm taking an actual vacation instead. You're all adults with a free house for 2 weeks. You'll figure it out. See you when I get back. Then I left the group chat completely. My phone exploded with individual messages after that, but I was done engaging. I spent my last few days before the trip grocery shopping, meal prepping enough food to freeze for when I got back, and getting my house ready to be empty for 2 weeks. The morning of July 14th, I woke up at 4 a.m. to catch my 7:30 flight out of Phoenix Sky Harbor. Double-checked my passport, tickets, and hotel confirmations. Grabbed my backpack and headed to the airport. As I was going through security, my phone buzzed with one final text from my mom. Please don't do this. We can talk about everything when you get back. Just don't ruin this vacation for everyone. I turned off my phone, dropped it in my backpack, and didn't turn it back on for the next 13 days. The flight to Athens had a layover in New York, which gave me plenty of time to second-guess my decision. Was I being selfish? Should I have just sucked it up and done what my family expected? Then I remembered watching my brother's kids for an entire Saturday last month because Brandon and his wife wanted to go to a concert. I'd agreed to watch them from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., but they didn't get back until almost midnight. No apology, no compensation, just a casual, thanks man, you're the best, as they picked up their sleeping kids from my couch. Or the time Nina had asked me to help out with a birthday party for Sophie, which turned into me spending 6 hours setting up, supervising 20 screaming children, and cleaning up while she took pictures for her Instagram stories about what an amazing party mom she was. Or the countless times I'd been volunteered to help someone move, fix someone's plumbing, or loan someone money that never got paid back because that's what family does. I wasn't being selfish. I was finally setting a boundary. The plane landed in Athens at 11 a.m. local time. I took a taxi to my hotel, a modest place in the Plaka district with views of the Acropolis, and checked in. The room was simple but clean, with a small balcony overlooking narrow streets lined with cafes and shops. I dropped my backpack, showered off the travel grime, and went out to explore. Athens was incredible. The history, the architecture, the energy of the city. I spent that first afternoon just wandering around, getting lost in the winding streets of the old neighborhoods, stopping at random cafes for coffee and pastries. That evening, I climbed up to Lycabettus Hill to watch the sunset over the city. The Acropolis glowed golden in the fading light, and I could see all the way to the sea in the distance. I stood there with a beer I'd bought from a kiosk at the bottom of the hill, surrounded by other tourists and locals all taking in the same view. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt completely relaxed. No demands on my time, no expectations to meet, no kids asking me to fix toys or help with homework. Just me, in a beautiful place, doing exactly what I wanted to do. I turned on my phone briefly that night to let my boss know I'd arrived safely. The device immediately started buzzing with notifications, texts, missed calls, voicemails. I ignored all of them except the work message, then turned it back off. Over the next few days in Athens, I fell into a rhythm. Wake up early, grab breakfast at a local bakery, spend the morning exploring historical sites. The Acropolis, the ancient Agora, the Temple of Olympian Zeus. Every stone had a story. Every ruin spoke to thousands of years of human civilization. Afternoons were for wandering the neighborhoods. Plaka, Monastiraki, Siri. I'd stop for long lunches at tavernas, ordering whatever the waiter recommended. Moussaka, souvlaki, Greek salad with huge slabs of feta cheese. The food was incredible, and eating alone turned out to be peaceful rather than lonely. Evenings were for people watching from cafe patios, reading books I'd downloaded on my phone, and getting into conversations with other travelers. Met a couple from Australia who were backpacking through Europe, a solo traveler from Canada who'd quit his job to spend 6 months abroad. A group of German students on summer break. Nobody knew me. Nobody expected anything from me. I was just Jake, some American guy traveling through Greece. It was liberating. On day 4, I took the ferry to Mykonos. The island was everything the photos promised. Pristine beaches, whitewashed buildings, windmills silhouetted against blue sky. I'd booked a place walking distance from Mykonos town, close enough to enjoy the nightlife but far enough to get some quiet. Mykonos was different from Athens. More resort-like, more focused on beaches and parties. I spent my days bouncing between different beaches. Paradise Beach, Super Paradise, Elia Beach. The water was impossibly clear and perfectly warm. I rented an ATV and drove around the island, stopping at random villages for lunch, exploring rocky coastlines, where the only sound was waves crashing against cliffs. At one particularly remote beach, I didn't see another person for 2 hours. Just me, the sun, and the Mediterranean. One evening in Mykonos town, I was having dinner at a restaurant overlooking the harbor, when an older Greek man at the next table struck up a conversation. "You are here alone?" he asked in heavily accented English. "I am." He nodded approvingly. "This is good. Travel alone, you learn who you are. Travel with others, you learn who they are." He raised his glass. "To knowing yourself." I clinked my glass against his. "To knowing yourself." After dinner, I walked through the narrow streets of Mykonos town. The clubs were just getting started, music pounding from doorways, people dressed up and ready to party. I could have joined them, struck up conversations, made some temporary friends, stayed out until dawn. Instead, I walked back to my hotel, sat on the balcony with a beer, and just listened to the distant sound of music and laughter floating on the night air. I wasn't lonely. I was content. The ferry to Santorini departed early on day 9. I stood on the deck as we approached the island, watching the massive cliffs rise out of the sea. The towns perched on top looked like they'd been carved directly into the rock face, impossible and beautiful. My hotel in Santorini was in Oia, the town famous for its sunset views. The room was smaller than my previous places, but had a terrace with a view of the caldera, the massive volcanic crater filled with deep blue water. Santorini was the most touristy of the 3 places I visited, packed with honeymooners and Instagrammers all trying to get the perfect photo. But it was also breathtakingly beautiful in a way that justified the crowds. I spent my days exploring the different villages, Oia, Fira, Imerovigli, hiked along the caldera rim from Fira to Oia, a 3-hour walk that offered incredible views at every turn. Visited the archaeological site at Akrotiri, a Bronze Age settlement preserved under volcanic ash. One afternoon, I took a boat tour to the volcanic islands in the center of the caldera. We anchored near hot springs where you could swim in warm, sulfur-rich water. The guide explained the volcanic history of the island, how a massive eruption around 1600 BC had shaped the landscape we saw today. Floating in those warm waters, looking up at the cliffs surrounding us, I thought about my family back in Scottsdale. They'd be more than halfway through their vacation now. Were they managing? Had they figured out their childcare situation? Were they angry at me? Disappointed? I realized I didn't actually care. Whatever was happening back there, it wasn't my problem to solve. Every evening in Santorini, hundreds of people gathered in Oia to watch the sunset. It became a ritual. Tourists packed into the narrow streets and terraces, cameras ready, waiting for that moment when the sun touched the horizon and the whole sky erupted in colors. On my last night in Santorini, I found a quiet spot away from the main viewing areas. The sunset was spectacular. Oranges and pinks and purples painting the sky, the white buildings of Oia glowing in the golden light. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, the crowd erupted in applause. I didn't clap. I just stood there, taking it in, feeling grateful that I'd chosen this instead of 2 weeks in a rental house, watching other people's kids. The ferry back to Athens departed the next morning. I spent my last night in Greece walking around the Plaka one more time, saying goodbye to a city I'd grown to love. Tomorrow, I'd fly back to Phoenix, back to whatever mess was waiting for me with my family. But tonight, I was still here. Still on vacation. Still just Jake. Exactly where I wanted to be. The flight home felt longer than the flight out, probably because I knew what was waiting for me. Reality. Consequences. My family's anger and disappointment. I turned on my phone when we landed in New York for the layover. The message notifications took almost 2 minutes to fully load. 127 unread text messages. 43 missed calls. 18 voicemails. I didn't read or listen to any of them. Just sent a quick text to my boss. Landed in New York. Should be home around 8 p.m. Phoenix time. See you Monday. The Phoenix airport was exactly as I'd left it 2 weeks ago. Hot, crowded, smelling like Cinnabon, and stress. I grabbed my backpack from baggage claim and headed to the parking garage where I'd left my truck. The drive home was familiar in a way that felt both comfortable and slightly disappointing. 2 weeks in Greece had made Phoenix feel flat and beige by comparison. The mountains were still beautiful, but they lacked the dramatic coastlines and ancient ruins I'd been exploring. I pulled into my driveway at 8:30 p.m. The house was exactly as I'd left it. Lights on timers, mail piling up in the box, grass slightly overgrown but not terrible. I dragged my backpack inside, dropped it by the door, and stood in my living room for a minute. Trip over. Back to real life. My phone buzzed. A text from Nina. "We know you're back. We need to talk. Come to Mom and Dad's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Not welcome home. Not hope you had a good trip. Just a summons to a family meeting where I'd presumably be lectured about my behavior." I texted back, "I'll be there at 11. Then I ordered a pizza, unpacked my backpack, and went to bed. The next morning, I slept until 10 a.m., the latest I'd slept in years. Made coffee, took my time getting ready, and rolled up to my parents' house at 11:15. My truck was the last vehicle in the driveway. Everyone else was already there. I walked in without knocking. They were all in the living room, arranged like a tribunal ready to pass judgment. Mom and Dad on the couch, Nina and Wesley in the armchairs, Brandon and Kelsey on dining room chairs they'd dragged in, all of them looking at me like I'd committed a war crime. "Nice of you to show up," Brandon said. I grabbed a chair from the dining room, positioned it across from the couch, and sat down. "You said we needed to talk. Let's talk." My mom started crying almost immediately. "How could you do this to us? We were counting on you." "You were counting on me to be your free childcare," I corrected. "That's different." "It's not childcare when it's family," Nina snapped. Same line from before, like repeating it would make it true. "Okay, then what would you call it? I pay for the vacation, then spend it watching your kids while you go out?" "We would have helped," Wesley offered weakly. "Would you? Because the plan you presented to me involved multiple date nights for you and Nina, multiple golf outings for Mom and Dad, and nights out for Brandon and Kelsey. When exactly was I supposed to enjoy the vacation I paid for?" Nobody had an answer for that. My dad leaned forward. "Son, you embarrassed this family. Do you know what we had to tell people? That you bailed on us at the last minute for some made-up work project? Then we find out you went to Greece? How do you think that made us look? I don't care how it made you look. I care that you all expected me to fund and facilitate a vacation I wasn't actually invited to participate in." "You were invited," my mom insisted. "You just decided to be selfish instead. Was I invited? Or was my money invited? Because from where I'm sitting, you wanted my wallet, not me." Nina stood up, face flushed. "You know what? Maybe we did expect you to help with the kids. Because that's what uncles do. That's what family does. And if you weren't so self-centered, you'd understand that. Help with the kids occasionally? Sure. Be the designated babysitter for 2 weeks straight? That's not helping. That's being used." "Used?" Brandon laughed bitterly. "You're out here talking about being used when we've always been there for you. Who helped you move into your house? Who shows up to your birthday dinners? Who includes you in family stuff even though you're always off doing your own thing?" This was the part where I was supposed to feel guilty. Supposed to apologize and admit I'd overreacted. Supposed to fall back into my assigned role as the reliable brother who fixes things and doesn't complain. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. "You want to talk about who's been there for who? Let's talk numbers." I pulled up my records. "Nina, I loaned you $3,500 last year when Wesley's car broke down. Never got paid back. Brandon, I loaned you $2,000 for that business opportunity that went nowhere. Never got paid back. Dad, I've been paying your cell phone bill for 2 years because you kept saying you'd get around to setting up your own account. That's another $1,200. I kept scrolling. I bought Christmas presents for all 5 kids last year. That was $500. I paid for Easter dinner. That was $200. I fixed Nina's garage door. That was parts plus 8 hours of labor I didn't charge for. I helped Brandon move twice. I drove Mom to doctor's appointments when Dad was out of town. Looking around the room at their faces. So don't sit here and tell me about family showing up for family. I've been showing up. I've been paying. And the one time I drew a boundary, you all lost your minds. The silence was heavy. Nobody was making eye contact anymore. Finally, my dad spoke. "Those were gifts. Family helps family. You never said you expected anything back." "You're right. I never said it because I thought families were supposed to support each other without keeping score. But apparently I'm the only one who thought that. You've been keeping score this whole time. Every time I couldn't make it to some event. Every time I chose to do something for myself instead of being available for whatever you needed." My mom wiped her eyes. So what now? You're just going to cut us off? Stop being part of this family? I didn't say that, but things are going to be different going forward. Different how? Nina asked. Different as in I'm not your backup plan anymore. I'm not your ATM. I'm not your free labor. When you ask me for something, I'm going to decide if I want to do it based on whether it's actually reasonable, not based on guilt trips about family. That's cold, Brandon said. Maybe, but it's honest. You guys have been taking advantage of me for years because I let you. That stops now. Wesley, who'd been quiet this whole time, finally spoke up. So you went to Greece to prove a point? That seems pretty extreme. I went to Greece because I took 2 weeks off work and wanted to actually enjoy my vacation. The fact that it proved a point is just a bonus. I stood up. Look, I'm not trying to blow up the family, but I'm also not going to keep playing this role you've assigned me. If you can accept that, great. If you can't, that's your choice. My mom stood up too, grabbing my arm. Jake, please. Don't leave like this. We can work this out. We can, but not today. You all need to think about whether you actually want me around or if you just want access to my time and money. I walked out without waiting for a response. Got in my truck, drove home, and immediately felt the tension drain out of my shoulders. The rest of Sunday was quiet. I grocery shopped, did laundry, caught up on yard work. Normal weekend stuff. My phone stayed silent. Nobody tried to call or text. Monday morning, I was back at work. Danny caught me at the job site, grinning. How was Greece? You look relaxed for once. It was incredible. Best decision I've made in years. Good. You needed it. He handed me a clipboard. We're behind schedule on the Liberty Tower project. Think you can work some magic? Yeah, I can handle it. Getting back into the rhythm of work was easier than I expected. Site inspections, crew management, dealing with subcontractors who couldn't read blueprints, familiar problems with familiar solutions. During lunch, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the photos from Greece. The Parthenon at sunset, beaches in Mykonos, that incredible view from my hotel in Santorini. Already felt like a distant memory, but a good one. Craig called that evening. Dude, you went to Greece? Why didn't you tell me? It was kind of a last-minute thing. How'd you find out? Your sister posted something passive-aggressive on social media about family members who choose vacations over family obligations. Took me about 3 seconds to figure out who she was talking about. I laughed. Yeah, that sounds about right. So what happened? Tell me everything. I gave him the full story. The family meeting where they revealed their expectations, my decision to bail, the 2 weeks in Greece, and yesterday's confrontation. When I finished, Craig was quiet for a moment. Man, I'm proud of you. That took guts. I don't know about that. I just got tired of being used. That's what I mean. Most people would have just gone along with it and been miserable. You actually stood up for yourself. That's huge. We talked for another hour about the trip, the places I'd visited, the food, the people I'd met. Craig made me promise to send him photos and recommendations for when he and his wife could eventually take their own trip. Just don't tell my family about your plans, I joked. They might decide you need to pay for them to come along. The week passed without any contact from my family. No texts, no calls, no passive-aggressive social media posts that I could see. Either they were processing everything, or they'd collectively decided to freeze me out. Either way, I was okay with it. Friday evening, I was grilling dinner in my backyard when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I figured it might be a delivery or a neighbor. It was my dad. He looked tired. Older somehow than he had just 5 days ago. Can we talk? Sure. Come on back. I'm grilling chicken. We walked through the house to the backyard. I gestured to a patio chair, then flipped the chicken on the grill. Want a soda? Beer? Soda's fine. I grabbed 2 cans from the cooler I kept outside, handed him one, and sat down. What's up? He was quiet for a minute, just watching me manage the grill. Finally, your mother and I have been talking about what you said on Sunday. Okay, you were right. About a lot of it. We did expect too much from you, and we've been taking advantage of your generosity for a long time. I wasn't sure how to respond to that, so I just nodded. The thing is, he continued, we always saw you as the strong one, the capable one. You never complained, you always helped out, so we just kept asking. We didn't realize we were being unfair. Dad, I'm 32 years old. I've been capable of saying no this whole time. Part of this is on me for not setting boundaries sooner. Maybe, but we should have been paying attention. Should have noticed that we were always asking and never giving. The chicken was done. I pulled it off the grill, plated it, and sat back down. So what now? Now we do better. Your mother and I were going to start paying our own cell phone bill, and we're going to pay you back for Easter dinner and the Christmas presents. Not all at once, but we'll set up a payment plan or something. You don't have to do that. Yes, we do. Because you were right. We've been keeping score of every time you weren't available, but we weren't keeping track of everything you were doing for us. That wasn't fair. I cut into the chicken, took a bite. It was good. I'd gotten better at grilling over the years. What about Nina and Brandon? I can't speak for them. They're adults. They need to figure out their own relationships with you. But I wanted you to know that your mother and I, we understand. And we're sorry. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. We sat in silence for a while, eating chicken and drinking soda. It wasn't comfortable exactly, but it wasn't hostile either. Just two people trying to figure out how to rebuild something that had gotten broken. Grease looked nice, he said eventually. Your mother saw the photos you posted. I'd posted a few to social media. Nothing crazy, just some scenic shots and a couple selfies. It was incredible. I'm already thinking about going back someday. Good. You should. Life's too short not to see the world. He finished his soda, stood up. I should get going. Your mother's making pot roast and she gets annoyed if I'm late. Hey, Dad? He turned back. I'm not trying to cut everyone off. I just need things to be different. I know. And they will be. It's going to take some time, but we'll get there. After he left, I cleaned up the grill and went inside. My phone buzzed with a text from Nina. Can we talk sometime this week? Just you and me? I replied, sure. Coffee on Saturday? That works. Thanks. Progress, maybe. Or maybe just another attempt to guilt trip me into feeling bad. Either way, I'd have the conversation and see what happened. Saturday morning came and I met Nina at a coffee shop halfway between our houses. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups in front of her. Got you a black coffee, she said as I sat down. That's still your order, right? Yeah, thanks. We sat in awkward silence for a moment. Finally, Nina spoke. I'm sorry. Okay, I mean it. I'm sorry for expecting you to be our babysitter. I'm sorry for taking your help for granted. I'm sorry for making you feel used. I appreciate that. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. The vacation was a disaster without you. The kids were a nightmare. Wesley and I fought the entire time, and nobody got any real relaxation. We kept saying Jake would have handled this or Jake would know what to do. Nina? No, let me finish. The point is, we realized how much we'd been depending on you for everything. Not just childcare, but fixing things, organizing things, being the responsible one so the rest of us could be flaky. That wasn't fair to you. It wasn't. But I also let it happen. I could have said no years ago. You shouldn't have had to. We should have been paying attention. She took a sip of her coffee. I know this doesn't fix everything, but I want you to know that I'm going to do better. No more assuming you're available for childcare. No more volunteering you for things without asking. No more loans I never pay back. What about the $3,500 from last year? I'm going to pay you back. Not all at once. Wesley and I really are stretched thin with the mortgage and daycare, but $200 a month starting next month. I've already set up the automatic transfer. That surprised me. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Because you were right about everything you said. And I need to start showing you that you're more than just the family fix-it guy. We talked for another hour, working through years of built-up resentment and misunderstanding. It wasn't a perfect conversation. There were moments where we both got defensive, where old patterns tried to reassert themselves. But it was honest, which was more than we'd had before. So, tell me about Greece, Nina said eventually. Dad mentioned you had a great time. I pulled out my phone and showed her photos. The Acropolis, the beaches, the food, the sunsets. She oohed and awed in all the right places, asked questions about where I stayed and what I did. That looks incredible, she said when I'd finished the tour. I'm jealous. You should go sometime. Take Wesley for an anniversary trip or something. Maybe when the kids are older, she smiled. Or maybe we'll just hire an actual babysitter and go. Crazy concept, right? We both laughed, and for the first time in months, it felt genuine. The conversation with Brandon happened a few days later, and it didn't go as well. He was defensive, insisted I'd overreacted, and kept trying to turn it into an argument about my priorities. We ended up agreeing to disagree and keep our distance for a while. My mom called occasionally, usually just to chat about random things. Her garden, what she was cooking for dinner, a TV show she thought I'd like. She never brought up the vacation or the money or any of the heavy stuff. Just normal mom conversations, which was actually kind of nice. Over the next few months, things slowly normalized. Nina kept her word about the payment plan. $200 showed up in my account like clockwork on the first of each month. My parents started paying their own cell phone bill. Nobody asked me for loans or free labor. I was still part of the family, still showed up for holiday dinners and birthday parties. But the dynamic had shifted. They asked before assuming I was available. They offered to pay me back when I helped with something. They respected when I said no. It wasn't perfect. Brandon was still distant, clearly hurt that I'd chosen a vacation over family. Some of the extended family had taken sides, whispering about how I'd abandoned everyone. But I'd learned something important in Greece. I didn't need everyone's approval to live my life on my own terms. 6 months after Greece, Craig and I were having dinner at that burger place we liked. My phone buzzed. Text from Nina. Kids want to know if you can come to Sophie's birthday party next month. No pressure if you're busy. I smiled and typed back. I'll be there. Want me to bring anything? Just yourself. We've got everything else covered. Just yourself. That's all they wanted now. Not my money, not my labor, not my time unless I was willing to give it. Just me. Showing up because I wanted to, not because I was obligated. I looked at Craig across the table. You know what? Things are actually pretty good right now. Yeah? Yeah. I've got my house, my job, my freedom. My family's learning to respect boundaries. And I've got a trip to Iceland to look forward to. Living the dream, brother. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.